Today, we're diving into a simple CI/CD pipeline that automates a machine learning workflow from pre-processing data to training your model. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to build your own continuous integration pipeline for any machine learning project. All right, guys, let's get started. Imagine you have a machine learning model with all your code ready. So CI/CD pipeline ensures that every time there's a change to your code or your data, it will get automatically tested, trained, and even deployed. We'll be starting by building a simple CI/CD pipeline for a machine learning model step by step. And the first step for building a simple continuous integration pipeline, because in this video I'll be showing just continuous integration, and in the next video I'll be showing you how to deploy it, which is the continuous deployment aspect of the pipeline. Now I'll be showing you just this, a simple script of a continuous integration. You see it starts from giving it a name, then you declare the on function, the jobs function, and the steps function. So I will be breaking down the code. So the first thing you do is to give it a name. The name can be anything, what you want to be called, or what you want to identify this pipeline with. You can call it, if probably my model is for ride price prediction, like in Uber, and ride price model pipeline prediction, I can call it ride price model pipeline. If my model is for maybe a bank price or a bank seat prediction, I can say bank price prediction. Whatever name you give it is not unique to this particular case. So you can just give it any name based on your own choice. So the first thing you do in your script for your continuous integration pipeline is to give it a name. And the second step is to specify a trigger condition, which we call on. And this on is a configuration key. It tells GitHub when to run your workflow. If you want the workflow to be run automatically, you can say on push or on pull request, then you specify the branch. Or if you want it to run when the button, which is called run workflow in GitHub, is clicked, you can say on workflow dispatch. This will only the workflow will only start when this button is clicked. But if you want it to be automatic, you can just say on push, then specify the main. So when there's a push to this particular branch main, or there's a pull request in this branch main, maybe a pull request for something or the other, it should run automatically. Or you can schedule it using a particular time. You can just specify the time. So you can say on schedule, then specify the particular time. So it will run whenever it gets to this time, every time of the day. If you specify 12 p.m., once you get to 12 p.m., the workflow will run as defined. Now the third thing, or the third step, is to specify the job. Specify the job. The job is a task which will be performed. It should be specified. So this job has 4 aspects. The first thing is specify the ID. If the job is to build, you specify the ID as build. If it's to test, specify as to test. If the job or what you want to do there is to deploy, specify deploy. But right now I'm probably building and testing. So the first thing I'll specify inside my job is build and test. Once you specify that, the second thing or the second item you specify there is the name. This name, you can choose it to give it a specific name. It can be anything, but it should be related to something you are doing at that particular point, so that in case someone is reading through your script, they will be able to follow your code. And the third thing is specify the operating system that your job runs on. I can specify it to be Ubuntu latest as the operating system that is running on. Then the fourth or the most important step is this thing called steps, STEPS, steps. The steps it run. So the step has 3 parts to it. Has the first thing is specify the step name, and once you specify the step name, which is the task to run in order, like step by step. They say, okay, for example, let me show you using this code. As you can see, now I specify this step name as checkout repository. So what it's doing here is just checking out repository. I can name this anything. It's not like it's specific to this particular task. I can name it checkout. I can say checkout my repository. Then this uses is specific. Take note, I wrote it out here. So it's specific. What uses does, it's like it makes use of pre-made GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions. There's some GitHub Actions that have been pre-made to set up stuff like maybe Python, to check out some codes or to upload some artifacts. You can use this word called uses, or you can use this keyword called run. Like in this particular part of the code, I specified the name, the step name, and I specified these uses. And this is pre-made in GitHub Actions. I just have to call it out as it is. And you can see the next step, my step, this is step 1, and this step 2 is the step case. I specify another step name. After the step name, probably I want to use another pre-made GitHub Actions, like I stated initially. I can also call it the same. I can also use this uses, use actions or setup or this or that. Then in other particular step, you can see this another name, install dependencies. So to install dependencies, I use the run function. As you can see, I've used run here. I said run is when you want to test, run some tests or to run the scripts which you've written, or to install some dependencies. You use this use run. But when you want to use pre-made function or pre-made GitHub Actions to set up maybe Python or check out code or upload some artifacts, you use this word uses. So it flows from up to down. The first thing, you can specify the name, and note this, it's not in every case that you have to specify the run and use at the same time. It can be specific to just the name and to run function, or just the name and use this, depending on what you're doing. As you can see in this particular script, what I did here is just specify the name of my step, and I use this uses, which is pre-made in GitHub Action. Then this particular one, I use name and uses. But you can see in this part, I use just the step name and I use run, because I wanted to install particular PIP. And in summary, let's recap how a continuous integration pipeline works for your machine learning projects. So the first thing is we give it what? A workflow name. And this workflow name is just a label to identify your pipeline in GitHub Actions. So once you specify the name, the next thing is to specify the trigger. This trigger is on, and this on is a configuration key. And this, once you specify this on configuration key, it tells the pipeline when to run, like on a code push or a pull request, or probably on a scheduled run when I use the scheduled timer. And the third thing we do after specifying the on trigger is to specify the jobs. And this job is like a group of tasks that run in a virtual environment. Each job has a unique ID. Each job has what? A unique ID, a display name, and also it specifies the runner OS. The ID is like telling it to build or to train or to deploy or build and train. Here I specify my ID as build and train. Then after specifying the ID as build and train, the next thing I did was specify the name of the ID. Like I said, this name is not unique. It can be anything. I can call it build and train model 1 or model 10. It's not unique to this particular job. Then the third thing to do for your job part is to specify the operating system. Here I've specified Ubuntu latest as the operating system that it will run on. And inside this job, a very significant part of it is to specify this step. And inside this step, there's like read task. This step is like specifying read task. The first thing it does here, which I've specified here, is what? This step 1. This step 1, this is the first part of the step, which is to check out my code. Step 2 is to set up my environment, and I specified Python as my environment, and I also went as far as specifying my version of Python which I want to work with. And after specifying the version of the Python which I wanted to work with, I actually specified this install dependency, because I wanted to install dependency each time I run, or each time this function or this workflow is run. Then also after that, I specify this run preprocessing.py, which runs the file, because I have a file which I've saved as preprocessing.py, which has the code to preprocess my model. After preprocessing my model, I also have another file which is training, and I have the last file for testing my model. So similarly, I have to just specify the name of that particular step, which might be run training. Then I'll specify run column, and I put python training.py. Same thing I will do for testing. So, and just like that, your machine learning workflow runs automatically every time it is triggered. So with these simple blocks, this name, this on, this job, and these steps, you can set up a full CI or continuous integration pipeline for any machine learning project. So the next thing, I will see how to add this automated testing and deployment to turn this into a complete CI/CD workflow in our next video. Thank you.